Good day. Well, just took let's get some light on the matter. Just took a little to get me started. Sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy or add to the comments or as long as they're constructive, you don't necessarily have to agree, but don't go out and be vicious. There seems to be some people out there who want to be negative all the time. But if you have a worthwhile comment, leave it below and, well, at least it'll get a discussion going. So sit back, get your coffee, tea, hot chocolate, whatever, and we'll discuss a few things. Okay, so our first topic is the BC government, our chief officer for children, released his report. And it says that they're pretty good. Less children are going to bed hungry. But one thing that points out, and this was brought out with the Abbotsford shooting, but especially it's noticed that female children who need mental health are sort of pushed to the side. It's that there may not be enough resources set aside for mental health. And I think mental health for years has gone through the stigma of someone with mental illness. Ooh, we don't talk about it. But yet we're willing to talk about cancer or other illnesses. But we're not willing to talk about childhood issues or anyone. If it's mental illness, the only time it is brought up is when something like what happened up at Abbotsford happens. And then everyone says, oh, well, yes, mental health. Oh, yes. Oh, and then it all goes silent again. Oh, no, your uncle never had mental health. It was some other issues. Well, let's bring it out in the open. They build brand new cancer agencies and they want people with mental illness issues to be out in society. That's fine. It's just like diabetics. When we go into the hospital and, if we have a low blood sugar like I did, you're in there and then you're sort of released. Diabetes, you need to be out, because you need to be out there in the real world. I believe people with depression, with mental illness, need to be out. That's Nico playing, by the way. Need to be out in the community. If you lock them in a hospital, it's going to be a lot of people are going to be hidden. And sometime all these people are going to be out. Now, a lot of people can remember, who are my age, can remember Essendale. Essendale was a hospital that was the place. It was called Riverview, Essendale. It was a hospital for those who were, it was a psychiatric hospital. And they decided they were going to shut it down and put all these people out in the community. Well, I don't necessarily agree that we need to do it all at once, but what I think we need to do is make sure there's enough support. And, the premier did say that we get enough support out there. And stop being, if someone's in the hospital because they're mentally ill, what makes it any different from a person who has cancer, who has some surgical issue? It makes no difference whatsoever. So we need to ensure that we get out there and we talk about it. Those who have mental health issues should be able to go, if they need to go to the hospital. But I think there are so many people who are afraid of the mental health stigma. And it shouldn't be a stigma. If you require mental health, there should be the resources out there to take it. And the problem is, a lot of times that you're put into the hospital for a mental health issue, and then you could be forced out because there's not enough resources and someone sicker than you comes in. So what do we really need? We need to have more psychiatric services in the local hospitals. We don't want to lock people away, but in turn, if they do need help, then they need to be out there. You've got to be able to live life, and people with mental illness need to live their life. But if they need help, if they get really depressed, or if they have some other issues, they need to be able to go to a place where they can get care for. And a lot of times that means they have to get out. They don't serve breakfast or dinner to the patients in the room. They have to get out and get active and try to see these actions, because they're going to have to live with these issues. And they have to get up, they've got to see, and a part of it is they've got to see other people. So do we have enough mental health resources in the community? I don't think so. I think we need, if somebody is out there having an issue, then, it's a stigma. And someone has a breakdown, and they decide that they're going to do all this stuff. And I think a lot of it is the mental health system. And if we cut back anymore, there's not going to be. There's, Jimmy Patterson Center in Surrey for daycare, and, all this money spent. But how much area or space is allotted for children or parents or adults who have mental illness? And mental illness is so vast that I think we really have to take a look at how we best serve the community with mental illness. Hopefully this will get you talking, and talk to your provincial MLA and say, what are you doing for mental illness? There could be, oh, well, we sponsored this, but the government kept saying no. Well, what's your position on the next election? We're going to be voting in BC very soon, and we want to make sure that we vote in a government that is sensitive to the special needs of people with mental illness. Get out and really listen to what your candidates say on this point. A lot of times you mention mental illness and it's, oh no, shh. Well, it's time to break the mold. It's time to get out, and help these people understand that, there's a lot more out there than just having one sort of mental illness issue. We need to get people out in the community, but we need to have like drop-in centers or more support. Build up a support network. There's nothing, so often, and I've seen that from my own condition, that people go out, oh yes, the great thing, and oh yes, I'll do this. And then when they get home, it's very easy to change over and get back into the old routines. But if there's some support, a support group that really works and really allows the person to talk about their issues, not sort of like, well, today we're going to talk about. Get the help to the people who need it. You know what is needed, so you should be out there being a champion for your own healthcare. Something to think about. Okay, so there's an awful lot of gang violence. We don't see an awful lot of it, but what's out there. You see the news stories about gang, or if they don't call it gang, but you see, it's a targeted action. We've had 2 in the past year around here, and the police are sort of weary to say it's gang activity. I think the Lower Mainland really had it hit home in Surrey with, I think it was Wally Ring Road, where an awful lot of people got killed because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's the gang wars, and then we, the citizens, have to end up cleaning up because we don't want a bunch of bodies laying around. And I really, my mind is, first of all, why do you want a life like that? Yes, and a lot of times people don't think about that. It's the fast money at the time. There could be a small percentage, and I'm not sure of this, so that are collecting welfare as well. But that isn't all of them, and a lot of families are living in fear because their son or their daughter is involved in that lifestyle. And I think I said it before, we need to ensure that we don't carry on that persona that, oh, well, yes, drugs and that lifestyle and parties and everything, how great it is. Well, I think a lot of us grow up and grow out of that lifestyle, but I think a lot of people now just want the fast money or the fast cars. And, I'm kind of wondering what prompts this. Like, why is this such? Some people like it as a lifestyle. And people sort of wake up a lot of these times and say, what have I done with my life? Like, I'm in this gang. There was a gang shooting out in, was it Langley? And so a gang member of another gang was arrested. But why? What's the appeal to this? Why do you always have to live looking over your shoulder? Personally, it's not for me. I can remember when I worked at 7-Eleven, there was a gang and house, and sometimes they'd have parties. But when they come into the store, they were very respectful. They'd come and sometimes they were a little drunk, but that's fine. And they were always respectful if someone, we'd have teenage boys come in and they bring in their dog. How many families sort of live in fear because their sons or daughters get involved in a life of questionable activities? I could. My life of working in a store, it was usually late night. And you could see the kids keep turning from good kids until, they became involved in problems. And it's hard for, to say, well, where's the mother, where's the father type thing. But it's hard because the kids, would sneak out. And, the gangs are easily right there. They patrol the streets. Maybe not so much in Vancouver, but I went to Chicago to do a glass exchange, where we go in and make sure the kids who needed glasses got glasses. Now there were a whole bunch of frames were given or donated. And if a kid needed glasses, they would get it. But a lot of times, kids wouldn't show up because it was gang recruitment day. And, it's hard to see that, yes, you need glasses, you should go. But a lot of times, they didn't show up because the gangs were recruiting. And there were times where kids who did show up were still sort of like, oh, the gang members were outside of the school. Well, because we did this at an abandoned school. And these kids would be there and constantly send the message that, your brother was a gang member, you need to become a gang member. And a lot of these innocent kids, and I know a lot, there were a lot of lower income kids, and there were whites and Hispanics and blacks. But The gangs offer family and loyalty, and a lot of times the parents weren't able or were trying to work, and you know they fall into these lifestyles. And you know a lot kids don't understand that a lot of these lifestyles that you're hooked for life. And I know parents tried to send these kids away to different, but they still fall into the same routine. And you know how easy it looks to, oh yes, I'm a crypt, I'm a blood. Well, I used to see this every Halloween. Oh well, yes, I'll dress up in crypt colors. I'll go as the red crypts or the blue. I don't know what the colors were. I can't remember. But it's all games with these kids until something comes out of it. And I think as we need to make sure that, kids can go and play basketball and make sure programs are open at night and take the mystique of a gang away and allow kids a safe place to go after school. Don't send them home. If your parents, if you're not going to be there, let your kid know that at the school that there is some sort of program available, but don't allow a kid to be accepted into a life of crime. There's always going to be some, but if we keep our kids, at night, oh well, it's either TV or the excitement of going out with the gang and hanging out with so-called friends. Do we need to ensure we know who each gang member is or who your friends are and where they're going? There's always going to be, just like in life, there's always going to be a small percentage that want to take the easy route. And a lot of times it is, gang activities. And one thing we learn all the time is that, oh, shh, don't report anything. Well, if you report something, then you're a fink. And, I think we really need to get out and get away under this stigmatism. Something really to think about. I'd like to hear other suggestions on how we can stop our kids from going down this road. Have a good day. Okay. The last part that I want to talk about is the portrayal of men on TV. Now, in most situation comedies, if there is a father figure, nowadays, there's sort of a joke that a lot of times there isn't even a father figure available. Or if he's there, he's a joke. What happened to the father figures that are present all the time, like the Howard Cunninghams, or those who try to do the best they can. And, there's nothing wrong with portraying the women as the strong type. Because out there, it's pretty well reality. And, but when there's, let's say Roseanne. Roseanne was awarded because it really showed what reality was like. But John Goodman kind of went along to whatever she said. And I think they tried to address this where he came out and said, well, I have some plans of my own, and I think the kids should be raised like so and so. And people just seem to get the message that he was more than just a standby father. He really started to protect the family, and I think there was a time where the Roseanne's sister was raped or beaten. It was beaten, not raped, sorry. And he went after the guy. Well, it was sort of different, but it got the point across that he was more than just, oh, well, yes, I'm the goofy father. And I think if even there's a father around, Disney can show a lot of independent men. But on the other hand, it's still sort of like, if there's the mother figure around, she's in charge, and oh yeah, it's all a big joke. But I think we are kind of teaching our young men of today that if you're a father figure, then you're a joke. And I think what's going to end up happening is a lot of mothers, or however you want to classify them, are going to say, they're in charge, and the men has to follow suit. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. There are an awful lot of men out there who do hold down the job, who come home every night, who offer strong parenting advice of their own, which is excellent, and that's where we need to see more of on TV. Hannah Montana, her father was kind of in the dark, and she could pretty well do whatever she wanted. And it's all saying, oh, well, these are good kids. But I think we've really got to take a look at the men being around the house. There's got to be more of that. And, they keep saying, oh, well, it's always the women's domain and the women need to do. Well, I think we've got to realize the role of men in our society. Yes, there's an awful lot of jerks who run off and don't pay child support, but there are a hell of a lot of guys out there who stay around when a child, and the mothers can take off, and the mothers have taken off, or God forbid, and I'm sorry, but the mothers have died. But the men get up and go to work every day, bring home a paycheck, make sure the kids have what they need and are off to school. But I'm the ideal that a single parent can't do it, well, is a bunch of garbage. But I think we have to take a look on how we deliver services to the different family members. We need to ensure that um, these people get the right image of what a male is, the ones that stay at home without being the total jerk. Um, I don't think we really notice this or work towards it, but why can't a father figure be a positive role model instead of, oh well, yes, you're joking around, and yeah, he's always the joke. The 70s, there were an awful lot of good fathers. Well, 50s, 60s, 70s. But then the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, we sort of lose contact with the real males out there. The ones who stick around, who work every day. Living in the complex I'm living in, I see it almost every day. So we need to ensure that that is portrayed and show not only the kids from single mothers, but sticking around and showing what a true father is. How are we going to teach the next generation on taking care of their babies if all they see on TV is men being made jokes of? Now, I really would like to see more. There was a show about all boys or something, and that was a father that was there all the time. He's, yeah, they still made the jokes and that, the father doesn't know that much, but I think we've got to get back to, yes, the men can stick around and they can also be single parents. And they do a damn good job of it. I don't think people realize this, and I know there's some jerks out there that, once they find out that the wife is pregnant and that, they leave, Oh, well, the party's over. And I don't think that's right. I think we need to be there to teach the kids of tomorrow the responsibilities. It's great when they have two parents, and it's easier when you have two parents. But when you're a single parent and trying to raise kids, and when the TV just shows, oh, dad's the big joke, what are the kids really going to learn? We need to wake up and show real life, but also the men that stick around. And you can show the women's being single as well. But I think the men being around is it's always kind of a joke. Sorry. So it's just something we really think about, that a lot of guys are upset about, because a lot of men around here have stuck around and have stayed with the families, and that's not portrayed. The portrayed is a big joke. So I think those who produce TV programs for kids or even regular TV needs to um, be, a strong man. Now, back in the day, it was always the blonde women. And I think we've kind of, from Gracie Allen, have kind of turned around, and Suzette Summers, and, the blondes and the dits. Now it seems to be like it's always men who are the dits who don't follow through on things. And I think we've really got to start and demanding that things change. And I know there are jerks out there who leave, but there are also a number of people or men that stick around and are excellent role models, but TV doesn't do that. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll be right back with closing thoughts. Okay, we went over a lot of topics that we've discussed before: mental health, father figures. But just seeing, sorry, I'm having candy. Just seeing these things that are happening, we need to make people aware of these and have a better life with them. So I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe we can get talking about these issues.